Felina Padilla, aka the Bronx Bomber. Got her Bronx shirt on, representing always.
Thank you for having me, Professor.
Thank you. We were just talking earlier, so you did Tough Girl Bootcamp?
Correct. 9 years ago, when I entered the dojo, you greeted us. The Muay Thai room is being constructed, so you told us to leave our email address, and when it was ready...
we're building it?
Yes, it was during construction. And a few months afterwards, they sent us an email, and we came and joined Tough Girl Bootcamp with Coach Dawn.
Crazy. And 9 years later, you're doing it with her, representing during your last week. You're going to be moving to Miami.
It was a pleasure.
Next week.
Like, I never left.
Felina, you grew up in the Bronx?
Yes, born and raised in the Bronx.
Born and raised. What was talk to me about your childhood, and what did your parents do, and
my mom she played the role of the mother and the father. My father, he was an alcoholic, so he was never there. It wasn't easy growing up, but my mom always made our home special. She gave us clothes in our back, and there was always food on the table, It was rough growing up. It was rough. We didn't go to Disney. We just went to school and hang out in the backyard, and
it was different times in New York at that time, right?
Yes.
Before Disney was on Times Square.
Exactly. Times Square, there was a lot of peep shows. It was a scary time, but I think at the time I was just immune to it, I didn't grow up in the most desirable neighborhood. I didn't grow up in the projects either. Again, my mom, she played the role of the mother and the father, and we didn't have the means growing up. But I started working at McDonald's.
That was your first job?
Yeah, that was my first job, and I was so proud of it. I worked through high school full-time, and I went to school full-time. So my shift was 3:30 to 10:30, and then I would take the train back home to the Bronx. So the McDonald's...
What area was the...
96th Street and Broadway. So yeah.
In the city.
Yeah, I was born and raised in the Bronx. I'm like, yeah, but I don't want to work in the Bronx. I'm going to go to the city. I was always responsible because I knew early on that I did not want to become a product of my environment, especially in the 80s where a lot of teenagers were getting pregnant, dropping out of high school. But in high school, I always had fun. I never belonged to a clique. I always hung out with everyone, whether it was the freestylers, the break dancers, the bilingual kids where nobody wants to hang out. I always shifted around. I just got along with everyone, even the rockers.
So we're in the Bronx, and say the night in the 80s, right? In the 80s.
We had to go through metal detectors.
Right. And so tell me the different groups that were in the school at that time, in high school.
Well, there was always
rockers.
They never changed. There's always a clique, but for whatever reason, I always got along with everyone. Like if I'm gonna hang out with my freestyle, and when I say freestyle, I don't know if you're familiar with freestyle music, with Noel, Judy Torres. So that was one group. The other group was the rockers with the long hair, the denim jacket. I just loved the music. We would just sit around and listen to Journey, Survivor. And they will always bicker, but I was always neutral, The popular kids, the bilingual kids were not the cool kids, but I didn't care.
Fresh off the boat.
And everyone accepted me, It was funny because I was working in McDonald's, and I was like, well, I just don't want to be an employee. I want to manage. So I got promoted to a manager. So for 4 years through high school, I was a manager at McDonald's. And every paycheck, I would go to the jewelry store. And at the time, people were wearing ropes, like Run DMC.
Right.
So I put everything on layaway.
And you had the gold, and you had the name, right? You had the diamonds, right?
Nameplate, my name ring. And I would put everything on layaway. And even the boombox, everyone was rocking the boombox.
Yeah.
So I will put everything on layaway. And at one point, I noticed that people in high school were just looking at me. And one of the girls was telling the other girls, her man must be a drug dealer. So my best friend was like, who are you talking about? And they were like, your friend that you're always hanging out with, the one with the leather jacket. I said, Freesia? No, she works at McDonald's, for crying out loud. So yes, that was my thing at the time.
What do you think the neutrality, why do you think you were like that? Like you got along with everybody?
I think it has to do with music. I grew up listening to everything, and my mom was a big influence in my music taste because she played a lot of soft classic rock, and I just loved it. And at the time, I was also watching MTV, and at the time, MTV was playing only music videos, and it didn't matter to me what type of music. I just loved music, period. And I think that branched out into the cliques. Even the Breakfast Club, I don't know if you saw that movie.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. Or Pretty in Pink, they was always talking about cliques. I'm like, at the time, I didn't understand it because I just got along with everyone. But now as an adult, I see, wow, it's still on. It still goes on like that.
Especially now with all this stuff, right?
Yes.
All the different separations, right?
Exactly. But I just got along with everyone. I don't care.
You know, and then, you know, you worked full time or worked, you know, after school and then went to school at the same time. Like, you know, I look at you now and I mean, you get the party started in the morning doing kettle jiu-jitsu at 5:30 in the morning, and then you train, you go to work and then you train at not evening, and you're like a machine, like a discipline, like your discipline is, I mean, it's inspiring for everybody, right? And do the women's class on Saturday, like you're like a machine, you know? Where does that discipline come from?
I think from my mom. You know, she's been through a lot of hardship, and I see her struggle. Now she's fine. You know, she in the late 90s they diagnosed her with cancer. They say it was terminal, so we took her from that hospital. We went to another hospital, Memorial Sloan Kettering, which is one of the best cancer hospital. And the drive and the fighter in her to beat cancer. And she did. She's been in remission ever since.
You said in the 90s, right?
Yeah, late 90s, 97, I think.
Wow.
And she always told me, well, don't be a product of your environment. You know, yes, we live in the Bronx, but you're better than that. And I wanted to graduate high school, when nobody was graduating high school at that time, especially in the 80s. And that was my goal. I'm going to graduate high school. After I graduated high school, I traveled a lot. I was single for a very long time. I was also in the closet. So because I was in the closet, I always traveled a lot. I went to a lot of clubs. I was a club head, like dancing. But then I said, let me just buckle down and go to college. And once I started college, I was like, okay, I'm going to follow through. I'm going to be the first one in the family to graduate from college. And sure enough, I did.
Wow.
I minor in legal studies and major in business. And I wanted to make my mom proud. That was my biggest influence. And she was so proud.
Are you the old? You have
yes, I'm the oldest.
Oldest. You have a brother and a sister?
I had two brothers. One of them passed away. And then my brother, who's in his 40s, and my other sister. She's the third one, yes. So I'm the oldest. So after I graduated college, I was still living under my mom's roof. She said, well, why don't you save your money? I'm like, okay, I'm just working full time and going to college. Once I graduated college, I saved enough money to rent. So I was renting one of my brother-in-law's little apartments. And after a while, I'm like, I'm tired of renting. Let me just buy something. So I'm always structured. Like I always had little goals, and
it's like you're like from the military or like a you know, martial arts. Now you're martial arts. I mean, right? Like tomorrow we're gonna have our graduation, and you know, I never tell people you're gonna get your black belt, right? But potentially, right? You could, and you know, it's like, I mean, that says it all, right? But it's really truly remarkable. Like you've been in the military or something with the discipline you have.
Especially in life, especially everything around my orbit, I just did not want to become a product of my environment. I wanted to be better, do better, I had an amazing career in New York, amazing friends, family. I had my apartment, and years went by, and I'm like, okay, what's next? And I came out later in life, like in my 30s, and it was the best thing I ever did. It was very liberating for me to live my true self, My mom embraced me. She already knew. She was just waiting for me. My sister already knew. They were just waiting for me to come out, but they all embraced me.
If you don't, like, what was that like? You were in high school. Like, what was that? Like your family already knew, but like, how was that? How was it growing up like that? Especially at that time. Especially at that time, right?
Dating was so hard.
Like other girls, other boys.
I never dated a girl at all through high school, but I had a lot of friends. Like all my friends were like amazing, To this day, I'm in contact with all of them. And I dated just
so you had to fake it.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was fronting. And that was hard. But at the end of the day, every relationship I had with a guy was like, oh, he's my bro. It was like hanging out with my bro, like hanging out with the bros. But then I just stopped dating altogether. I think I was single for 10 years and I just focused on myself. I was also
When
overweight.
did you know?
I
How old
knew
are you?
since I was a little kid. I didn't understand it.
Yeah.
No one was there to guide me and talk to, especially at that time when it was frowned upon, right?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But I always knew I was born that way, And I think in my late 20s, I was so huge. I was like almost 200 pounds. I looked like a sumo wrestler. And my mom was like, you don't have kids, you have a great career, just work on your health. And I did. I joined Lucille Roberts. Yeah, I joined Lucille Roberts, and for a year, my mom helped me. She was cooking like healthy foods. And within that year, I went down to 130 from almost 200 pounds in 1 year. And it was just consistency, So after that...
put your mind to it. You made it happen.
Like, I think early 2000, the L Word came out. And
Early 2000.
Yeah. I was always fascinated with Jennifer Beals, and I saw her in the billboard. I'm like, what is this L Word? So that show was therapy for me. I was like, oh, it's okay to be a lesbian, to be gay, And I met my first girlfriend through AOL, through AIM. So I was with her for like
AOL dial up.
Yeah, for like maybe 4 or 5 years. Then didn't work out. I was single again for like a year. And then I met Lissettte at the Bronx Zoo through mutual friendship. And she was always planning to move to California. I didn't. I wasn't even looking for love. I'm like, whatever. But it just kind of happened organically. We just kept hanging out. And she moved to LA. And she said, come visit me. I'm like, I never been to LA. Never thought about going to LA. I knew of Burbank studios because of shows that you watch through the 80s, like Growing Pains or Facts of Life, Give Me a Break.
Facts of Life.
TJ
Facts
Hooker.
of Life. Facts of Life.
Saying you always see Burbank studios.
Right.
But I never thought I would, move to California. And sure enough, I came and I visited Lissettte. And I'm like, wow, I like this place. I never saw so many mountains, And it just opened my eyes. And I started falling in love with her. So for a year and a half, we were dating long distance. Because, I didn't want to leave everything behind in New York.
So she moved from Miami to LA first?
She's from Miami, so she moved to New York.
Oh, I see.
And I just happened to meet her, But she was already planning to move to California. That was her dream. And you know, we kind of fell in love within that year and a half that we were doing long distance. So I was like, okay, let me just roll the dice and see what happens, you know? So I sold my apartment. I left my job. It was heartbreaking because my mom was in New York, but I needed to make that leap of faith for myself, you know? Actually, it's one of the best decisions I ever made, because if I would have never left New York City, I would have never been introduced to martial arts. I probably would have never gotten my license, and I didn't know how to drive.
Wow. Wow.
Let's say you're like, here, take a few lessons, and she just shoved me to drive. Get it out of your system. So I evolved moving to California.
Open up your mind.
Exactly. You know, I was always drawn to UFC, not because I understood what was going on, but I was always fascinated with the fighter's regimen, getting prepared mentally and physically for the fight. That I was always fascinated by that, you know, not for the actual fight itself. I was more into boxing, like Sugar Ray, Muhammad Ali, Tyson. That was my thing.
You got the Tyson shirt on too.
That was definitely my thing. So we started going to 24 hours, and we got bored after a while. We needed something different. That's when we walked into your gym. I believe it was late 2012, November 2012, yeah. And it was like, wow, this is so cool. I was just fascinated. You know, because I never really went to a class per se, like a fitness class. I always did old school weight training, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, just lifting weights. You know? So it was fascinating to me.
Hitting a bag and getting some technique and mixing it in with the fitness, right?
Exactly. And at the time, I think you guys had an introduction to jiu-jitsu, you know. What was this guy's name? Ugo. Yes.
From Sweden.
I didn't care for it because I told Lissettte, like, the last thing I want to do is roll around on the mats with sweaty men. No, it's not happening. But I'll do the introduction to jiu-jitsu, but I'm not doing that. I was so stubborn. And we finished
and she was like every day, like, come on, let's do it.
We finished the course with Ugo because he had to leave. And I said, I'm going to stick to Muay Thai. And Coach Brian was such a sweetheart. You know, I have total respect for him. Yeah. He helped me a lot. And Lissettte decided to do the jiu-jitsu classes full time. And it took a while, like a really long time for me to agree to even take a class. So I was like, okay, but it has to be only girls. And I knew they didn't have a girls class, so I knew it wasn't gonna happen. But there was a blue belt at the time, and Lissettte and her, I guess, congregated and started scheming about having a girls class, and it became official.
Lissettte was the instigator, right? And made it happen. She's a leader, man. Wow, you know.
2013.
Man.
Said, okay, it was once a week. I said
because it was so rare to have any like a female thing, you know.
Yes, exactly.
And Lissettte was like, I mean, both you guys are like, you know.
Yes, and I'm like, I still wasn't really crazy about it because I did not understand. It was really hard for me as a white belt, whereas Lissettte just dived in and she embraced it, you know. But she tried. She really poked me. She poked the bear a lot. And then she said, well, look at this video. It was Leticia's first camp. And I saw these women, and I liked the regimen, the warm-up. Like, they all looked like they were working out right before they went into combat. And she goes, guess what? She has another camp coming. And I looked at her and said, really? I said, yeah, we're going to go. So she had I forgot where, but I have pictures. I said, come on, let's go. I said, okay. So on the weekend, we went to her camp, 3-day camp. That's where I met all these pioneers. At the time, I didn't know who they were. Yeah. You know? Leticia, Beatriz, Leica. Leica was the first one. She was the most friendliest one there. I can't remember. There were more female black belts, and again, I didn't understand who they were, you know. But Lissettte, like, did her homework, and she told me, these are the women that paved the way for us. That's why you don't see any women on the mats. And so every weekend,
you guys met everybody. Felicia.
Yeah, that was
everybody.
in a different. That was at Gracie Baja's seminar. Lake of Felicia Jocelyn Chang, who's a survivor of breast cancer. Chris Shaw.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a really important moment because that was the second seminar we got invited to. And that's the first time I met. We already met Leica at Leticia's camp. So then that's when we met Felicia Jocelyn Chang, Chris Shaw, and we were like, wow. And everyone left, and it was just me and Lissettte, 2 white belts, and these black belts are hanging out with us and telling us stories about Brazil, and we were so fascinated by that.
Do you remember some of the stories that you heard?
I believe Leica took all her students, because I think, she took all the women, including Felicia, Chris Shaw, Jocelyn Chang, Cindy Umatsu, and they took a trip to Brazil for competition. And I guess the same thing you did in 2013 or 2014, where you took
some of the coaches and the staff,
Yes. So they would just tell us stories that they basically say, well, everyone is spoiled now because now you could just go in the internet and just see your rack, see at what time you're going to fight.
Right.
Whereas they had to sit around and wait all day, you know, and maybe they'll fight, you know. So that was an eye-opener.
Yeah, you weighed in, right? You weighed in, and then you just waited around all day, and maybe you'd go in the morning, maybe you'd go in the evening.
That was horrible.
And you'd be nervous, right? Anxiety, and you had your friends going as well. So you hope for the best, right? You never knew what time you're going to go. Yeah,
and they all told us that it was frowned upon for women to be on the mats, and these are the women that paved the way. They didn't care if they were looked the wrong way. They were gonna. And at the time, especially when we started, you had your OGs and then the new jiu-jitsu. But we were always interested in the women that paved the way because we love history, you know?
Yeah, it was different time, right? Like some of the girls I just remember like some girls, they just come in to maybe meet guys too, right? They're not like serious.
Yes, exactly. And that still happens now.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But
they say Maria Tatami.
That is true. But you always know the women that are serious about this.
Yeah, for sure, of course, but there weren't too many. There was one of she ended up becoming a black belt and even fight and married one of the other black belts, of course, but that was even later on. But at the beginning, it was like very like few and in between. Like not every gym, right, had one girl training that was serious, right?
Exactly. And that piqued my interest. The women were so inspiring, And our goal every weekend was to meet all the women, visit every dojo, and just get to know everyone, And we did from white to like up to purple belt, and even looking through your walls, you have articles about CJ. You have a little picture. In the main mat room. People may not notice it, but I just happened to look and I'm like, who are those 2 women? And it was CJ and Sarah, I believe.
Yeah.
And then the article about CJ that you have going towards the Muay Thai
being the
room.
first American black belt. First American world champion.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like,
IBJJF.
who is this woman? She was Professor Crane's student? So Lissettte did some digging, went to your friends list. She looked for Kathy or CJ, like it couldn't pop up.
Right.
And she found her and sent her a quick message. CJ must have been like, who is this girl? So I think we invited her, and after a while, we met CJ, we met Sarah, and a few black belts, a couple of black belts. They saw that we were groupies. We were lusting. We were white belts who were lusting over jiu-jitsu, and we were groupies. We really are groupies. But 2 serious OG in 2 separate
I mean,
occasions.
it's like, yeah, you're passionate, right? You get the bug, and that's amazing, you know, just that you really focus on that way, right? That
Yes.
avenue.
And these 2 particular black belts were like, well, you know, you're training under an OG yourself. He's a pioneer. And we're like, who? So Alberto Crane, he's a pioneer. And it didn't dawn on us at the time, you know, because we were so laser focused on the women aspect. But as we kept going to dojos and rolling, you start hearing whispering in the background, like, those are Alberto Crane's girls. That was the thing. We still didn't understand. We went to the bookstore, Barnes and Nobles. We look at martial arts, and I think I mentioned that to you before. And then we see your picture, UFC veteran Alberto Crane. We were like, whoa. I'll go to the museum in Burbank, martial arts, and the owner's like, well, you know, your professor is getting inducted in the Hall of Fame of martial arts. And we were like, what? So after that, me and Lissettte was like, well, we got to Google Professor Crane. So that's when we Googled you, and we saw this footage of you on YouTube. And that's when we started hearing about Draculino, and then you invited him. And we just dove in. We just wanted to see every YouTube video with you.
You train in the Bronx, right? You're telling me?
Yes, yes.
Jiu-Jitsu.
I was a purple belt, and I went to Hensel Gracie and
in the Bronx, right?
in the Bronx, Allenton, I think. And Gordon was teaching Tuesdays and Thursday, 8:30 class. And sure enough, I told my mom, hey, Mom, I'm going to go and take this class. And I went. I always represent your name. And the Brazilian guy, he already knew who you were. I can't remember.
Do you remember Gordon Ryan? You remember his name?
Yeah, but of course.
Because
and
now.
The Danaher girls were there. And I'm like, I'm going to do what I always do. I'm going to do my best. Because I feel that whether you're a hobbyist or a competitor, you have to represent your belt well, you know, and do your best, you know. But I also hear the Brazilian guy tell Gordon, oh, she trains with Alberto Crane. And they kept talking because you're the OG, you know, you're the American pioneer. But that was our goal. So not many people, especially the new students, they may not know that you was teaching Monday through Thursday at 7:30. So anything that you taught us throughout that week, we applied it on the weekend. Wherever we went, it was like, we're going to do our best. And that was our thing. We did our best, and we applied whatever we learned. Even when I injured my knee really bad, it was a silly mistake in my part. I took a few days off, and you inboxed me or text me, and I said, I don't want to see you miss so many classes because you're getting so good. And I'm in my crutches. And Lissettte goes, where are you going? I said, well, Professor Crane told me that I have to go train. He said, train with one leg. So that's when I learned the deep half, you know, the variation of the deep half. And coincidentally,
change up your game, right? So you can shift around that injury.
You had Gordo, I think, was it Gordo? He had a knee injury.
Yeah.
He was doing a seminar. And I just started working on my bottom game because I've always been a top game woman. And it just changed. It opened my eyes, you know. Then I think Joey joined the dojo and said, you gotta master your fundamentals, Felipe.
Joey Alvarado, yeah.
He would scream at me so many times.
I mean, I feel so lucky and blessed, you know, just he's all about the fundamentals, and it's everything, right? The fundamentals.
Yeah, he helped me a lot. He helped me tremendously to sharpen my skills. And after a while, he stopped screaming at me. So I'm like, okay, now I'm good. Especially when he says, you're a badass purple belt, Felipe. I'm like, whoa. So he's been a huge...
He keeps it real, right? The good and the bad, but he's going to say it how it is, right? And you know when he says it, it's like, wow,
yeah,
I'm good.
He's been a huge part of my flexibility, of my fundamentals, and what he instilled in me. I always try to tell the lower belts, never stop taking your fundamentals, because I'm a higher belt. Andre's a higher belt. Monica, Professor Felix, Ricky, Professor Thomas. We all take fundamentals with Joey.
Yeah.
You know, and I think they have to see that it's not what you see on YouTube. And I learned that after the fact. You know, everything that I know is because I learned it on the mats. You know, and I'm grateful for everything I learned. You know, and I'm gonna take it with me.
And there's levels, right? There's levels, like, you know, you look at Hodger Gracie or like a Kron Gracie, right? And there's levels of like, okay, a front choke is a front choke, but how good of a front choke is your front choke or whatever other technique, right?
Exactly.
So there's always the details, right, that help you improve things. Like an armbar is not just an armbar, but how dissecting it and going deeper and deeper and deeper, and that takes time, and you got to do it again and again and again. And speaking about boxing, I've been around some great boxing trainers, right?
Exactly.
And when you have these high level boxers, when the boxers come in, what do they work on? Fundamentals. They work on the fundamentals over like a Manny Pacquiao, whoever. You know, like one of Manny Pacquiao's trainers, like when he works with him or whoever, it's always the fundamentals, you know, the fundamentals again and again and again.
That's why I appreciate having Sururu here, because I think I met him when I was a white belt or a blue belt. And he has so much passion in his soul, you know, and he dissects the technique. He literally does. And just last week he was teaching us stand-up game, because I know he also does MMA. He did MMA.
He fight, huh? For sure.
So I just been like, because I think Professor Joey was like, Felipe, bring a pen and pencil. You're going to write everything down. And I'm like, no, I'm going to record.
He calls you Felipe?
It's a backstory to that.
Okay. Felina, Felipe?
Felipe. Just to, you know, bother me. I'm like, no, I'm not going to bring a paper and pen. I'm just going to record it. So that's what I've been doing. I've just been recording. And I love the way.
It's cool when Professor Rockaloo was here. You had the videos of him teaching some stuff. Oh. And then he's like, man, that's good stuff. I forgot that he did that, right? But because you had the footage, that's why I always encourage people to, let's do something. Let's, you know, shoot it, whatever. And because you forget, right? Even for myself, like you do stuff by a certain time and then you evolve or do something else. And
I showed it to him and he was so surprised. I was definitely a white belt. Yeah, I was definitely a white belt. And I have more. I just happened to show him that one. But that's what's scary to me. Like once I moved to Miami, you know, because everyone is they micromanage their dojo. Like they're not going to let me record, you know? You just happen to have an open mind, you know, and not everyone is like that, you know. You welcome everyone to your dojo, whereas if I go to, I shouldn't say the name, but if I go to a specific dojo, they're going to have the affiliates do a seminar, you know, whereas you welcome every black belt, regardless of their affiliation, to do a seminar, you know. And my first one was with I believe Leandro Lowe. Yes. Yeah,
that was a good one.
And at the time, again, I didn't understand it. But I now, as an older person and a higher belt, I'm like, you know, there's no one like you. There really isn't, you know. Because I know this for a fact because I went to other dojos. They like to keep it within their affiliation, you know.
Yeah, I just try to focus on, right, like, just you guys being your best, right? And you know, maybe it's even the same the other person teaching the same exact thing, but then they explain it maybe a little bit different, and because of that, you're like, oh, I get it now, you know. And it's good to have different styles. Like Leandro Lowe, like I learned a ton of stuff, and always keep pushing it, right? To, you know, for us to be our best. And I think that's the culture we try to do here at Legacy, right? Is always pushing everybody to be their best, no matter what. And
regardless whether it's old school jiu-jitsu or new school, you always go with the, you know, you evolve. You know, you just don't stay in one structured curriculum. You know, you teach us everything. And not everyone does that.
Like Keenan here, showing us some of the lapel stuff. And of course you can get a lot of content online, and you can get videos and all that.
Same.
It's exactly. To have the experience of these different guys and coming in and just even training with them, or how they explain it in person, right? And them correcting you, right,
Exactly.
when you do it.
And not everyone does that. I mean, who does that? Nobody.
Yeah, I just try to do my best, right? I just try to do it like you. Like, I just try to do my best and give my all, because it's changed my life.
Exactly.
Changed your life, and
It's a
you want to
relationship.
spread that. You want to spread that.
And I don't think I'm gonna find a home like Legacy. I highly doubt it. I mean, I highly doubt it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah. It's you're moving on. Well, today's Friday, so you're moving Sunday. So
Yes.
2 days is kind of surreal. You're gonna be really missed. You're gonna be really missed.
my
And
second home.
we're not gonna have Felina. Like, you're like military, straight up military. And people like heard you talk, and just how you carry yourself. It's like you would train the military. Like the way you're disciplined and the way you do things. It's super impressive. And it's I don't even want anything. It's like goodbye. I don't like goodbyes, like I told you.
Exactly.
It's just we're inside each other's hearts, and we're gonna stay connected. And hopefully you visit, like hopefully the flights don't get canceled, and they make restrictions between states,
I know my demeanor could be a little intimidating, but and just because I hear it from girls when we go to other dojos, like, you understand your demeanor is like, we were all scared, and I'm like, you have no idea. We were so nervous coming into your dojo. But that's one thing that we always, every dojo we went with respect. Mm-hmm. We're not there to like try to show off or kill anybody. We just want to learn from everyone,
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like a lot of people like that. Like, they visit other dojos and for whatever reason they want to like prove themselves. I'm like, no, you have to respect the mat that you're visiting.
It's bigger than that, right?
Yes.
Than just proving yourself.
Exactly.
It's a lifestyle, right?
Exactly.
Where you're always like learning and changing,
Just
becoming
do your
better,
best.
becoming better. Hopefully not hopefully, but becoming better every year.
Exactly. Like, I remember back then you was a little more strict because you didn't let us like sit down on the wall. It's like, just defend. Get on the mat, just defend. I'm like, okay. So my defense, me and Lissette's defensive, we're really good. And when I did the Jiu-Jitsu World League, I'm like, she's beating me, but she's not gonna tap me out.
Yeah, these girls were like double your size. It's Felina with their bun,
That was my cocky self thinking, okay, I'm 51, but I'm a tough 51. These 40-year-olds got nothing. That's me thinking I'm tougher than them because they're in their 40s,
Yeah.
Yeah. But these women were steel.
Yeah, they're big. Then they were like double your size, right? Like the height,
They were made out of steel, and
Yeah.
that was me being cocky. Like, I roll with guys all the time.
Yeah.
But I just remember thinking, like, okay.
It's also like learn like competing. Like, you don't compete like a lot of these girls that compete a lot. Just learning how to the control yourself, and also the strategies and things like that.
But I just wanted to defend. I'm like, okay, she's beating me, but do not let her submit you. So at one point, I just closed my eyes and I just kept following your voice. You kept coaching me what to do, so I just followed your voice.
Yeah, you listened. Like,
yeah, I said, just defend. But that was a great experience.
Yeah, it's inspiring for me too, to see like your heart, and like you're like, like whatever. Maybe I'll be down by points, but I'm not gonna give her the satisfaction.
No, but that was fun. Although Lissettte was a little hard on me. I said, you should have killed him. What's wrong? She's always gonna be super hard on me. She's the one that, introduced me to this art. So.
It's always good to have different people, right? Like,
yes.
influencing you, and
yes.
But
and thank you. You basically let us invite every female black belt.
Yeah, we did. You guys did that. Go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Like, not everyone's gonna do that. you're just so chill and laid back about it.
You guys organized like the Dirty Dozen, was it a workshop, a seminar?
It was a celebration.
Celebration.
And that was to give, let me just give that to Lissettte, because she's the one that like, well, who are these male Dirty Dozen? What about the women? Let's do something for them. And Felicia helped Lissettte track everyone out. Felicia O. And really, we just wanted to give back to them, you know, for paving the way, you know. And I think people don't realize that, you know. So, and thank you for lending us your beautiful dojo to do this.
Our dojo, right?
And it was one of the best celebrations we had. Yeah. That was truly, truly an honor, you know, to have all these amazing women there, you know. And I know CJ and Sarah should have been part of that.
Yeah, should have been one of the first 12, but I moved away from New Mexico.
Yes, exactly.
You know, just to give them credit because they were a part of their early days. But I moved out to LA, and you know, they got their black belt got postponed.
So, but we were so happy that CJ was here.
Yeah,
that meant a lot. You know,
they competed. She competed when purple, brown, and blacks. Well, at first it was just one division, but then when she competed against Leticia Ribeiro when she was a purple belt, you know,
and Kira, I think,
and Kira too. Yes. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. But you know, it's blue belt, and then it was just one division for the females, and then it was purple through black. You know, so she competed. Leticia was already a black belt, and yeah.
But to have all that history on the mats, like different generations,
and now it's so professional. You know, you have like girls being full-time jiu-jitsu athletes, and it's really cool.
Exactly. And that was our thing, just inviting. We stopped visiting dojos, and we just kept inviting female black belts, to the point where...
You guys brought them here.
Yeah, to the point where I was a purple belt, probably my second or third year. And again, it's because we always want to learn from everyone. Right before COVID, we wanted to bring Yvonne Duarte, who's the first female black belt and who is now the first female to earn her coral belt.
Wow.
And before COVID, we were going to bring her here to come to the dojo. She was probably going to be the last one, but then COVID happened, so, and never
Where
happened.
does she live?
Brazil.
Oh, okay.
Brazil. Cool. But after a while, I think a good friend of ours, black belt, she made me realize, because it didn't dawn on me, like, well, those are your girls there from Legacy?
Give her a shout out.
Jill Baker.
Jill Baker. Come on. Jill Baker.
It's like, well, these girls are looking at you, not at the female black belts.
She's your favorite, but, you know, one of your favorites, you know, she's...
And that's when
so cool. Matt Baker. That's good people.
Amazing. That's why after COVID, like, we got to do SoCal one more time.
SoCal open mat, female open mat.
Yes. Yeah, but she made me realize a lot. And ever since then, I'm like, you know what? The girls are looking at me now, you know? I was them.
Because you're always trying to bring in, you're like, can I do an all-women's class, right, on the weekend? And then you wanted to bring in, you bring in some guests and stuff. And then she told you, hey, why don't you do it? You know, which I was like, I told you that, Felina. But then Jill was like, yeah, hey, why don't you do it? You should be doing this, you know, because it's your heart, it's your passion, you know. And then, she's like, you should be doing it. They're here for you, you know, and.
Yeah, that was an eye opener.
You know, like, you're right. We all have that thing, right? Where we're like, are we good enough? You know, are we good enough? Am I worthy enough to be, you know, teaching or whatever?
Yeah, and then once, you know, just talking to our Saturday students and you know, they listen. They're training at nighttime now.
Yeah.
Wow. Victoria took her first jiu-jitsu class with Professor Joey Wednesday. So I'm really, really proud of that, you know. I'm super proud. I've been teaching the girls' class since I was a blue belt. Yeah, I was a blue belt. And it's been an amazing experience for me, you know. And they have so much fun. They do. I adore them, all of them.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Professor.
I'm proud of you. Really proud of you.
Thank you.
It's amazing work.
Thank you. because of you.
Thank you for small part, the right culture, right, the right environment, right,
Exactly.
for you to thrive and to do your best and inspire others to do the same.
Exactly. That's why when we made the decision to move back to the East Coast, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not leaving. I'm staying here until I earn my black belt. And I remember talking to Professor Joey, he's like, you got to put in the work, Felipe. You got to put in the work.
Felipe.
And sure enough, I'm like, okay. And whether it was 2-3 classes, I don't care how tired I am, I'm going to come. Then I'll train smart. I'm like, I'll go hard this session, take it easy on the next session, and so forth.
Wavy training.
Yeah. I think I started at 44, training jiu-jitsu. I'm 51. Yeah. 8 years. 8 years.
Of like every week, boom, 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 starting 5:30 in the morning, at night.
Yeah, because I don't want to come to a dojo just for one class. Like, no one does that. You got to and again, it doesn't matter if you're a hobbyist or competitor. If you want your stock in jiu-jitsu to go up, you have to put in the work. Because otherwise, whenever you visit another dojo, you're going to be exposed on the mats, So whether you're a blue belt to black belt, you have to, and I'm really adamant about this, you have to represent your belt well, especially if you're coming from a lineage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. It's bigger than us, right? It's bigger than just what you yourself, but
exactly.
You're representing.
Exactly.
And I think that's a big part of, jiu-jitsu is, you can say it's an individual, right? But it's team, right?
Exactly.
And I think when you tap into that, that's one of for me, it's like one of the black belt things, like you kind of surrender to like your team and you embody, you become that. And I think when you do that,
exactly,
you become greater than yourself.
Exactly.
What does it mean for your life to become a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt?
I'm always going to be a terminal student. I'm never going to stop being a student. And I learned that from you.
Well, what does it mean? What does it mean for you to get your black belt when you just,
discipline?
Close your eyes. Like, what does it mean, for you, like for your life? What does it mean? Like, you've been through all these,
sweat. Injuries.
The Bronx, growing up in the Bronx and single mom and coming out of the closet and
it's definitely a huge accomplishment.
College, losing weight.
It's prestigious, like becoming an attorney. Jiu-jitsu for me, is highly regarded. I respect all martial arts, but jiu-jitsu is the one that really tears you apart. It's like a roller coaster of emotions, and that's with everyone, especially when you're a blue belt. A lot of people get the blues as a blue belt. I didn't. I got it as a purple belt. But I never wanted to quit. That was never in my orbit. But it's hard. Like, a lot of people in their blue belts, they quit, And once you pass that hurdle or that fork in the road, it's smooth sailing. Even if you take breaks here and there, as a purple belt or brown, you'll find your way back to jiu-jitsu, regardless of all the emotions that you go through. Because it's not easy, but it's fun. It's definitely fun.
What is Legacy? What is your jiu-jitsu community? What does it mean to you in your life?
Family. It was my family away from my home in New York, for sure. And I think jiu-jitsu, regardless of race, political views, especially in this climate. For instance, Professor Joy, I don't agree with anything he says. I'm a conservative Democrat.
Neither does Facebook and all that.
I'm a conservative Democrat, but I respect his jiu-jitsu, his kettlebell. He has taught me
and who he is
everything.
as a person, right? You just regard him and whatever he wants to say about whatever.
I love him.
Mm-hmm.
He has helped me so much. And just to be clear, I don't agree with the mandates of vaccination.
Yeah.
I think that's a personal choice,
right.
Just to be clear. But yes, jiu-jitsu, regardless of gender, political views, once we're on the mats, we become one as a family, regardless what's going on in our orbit. Once we're on the mats, there's no room for anything else. Zero, you know. It's all about jiu-jitsu and your partner. That's it. That's what I learned. Especially during this climate this past 2 years.
Wow, craziness, huh?
Yeah.
What was your highest point in these last 9 years of jiu-jitsu? One of your highest points. You can say multiple if you want. What's a high point?
Earning my brown belt definitely was like, wow. Because, you know, I always looked at your pictures and I always try to like see myself next to you. You know, you have a beautiful picture there with the Gracie and then Draculino. And I'm like, I want that. And Lissettte goes, yeah, I'll make it better for you. I'll make it better. But earning my brown belt was...
You believed that you could do it.
Yes.
Go all the way. You could become a black belt.
Yes. I was like, oh no, I'm not going to move without earning my black belt. I'm going to put in the work. If I have to stay here by myself... And I spoke to Lissettte, we had a conversation, and she was all about it. You know, I mean, although it hurt her, I'm like, I'm not built that way. I cannot start something and not follow through. I have to finish it. You know, I have to earn it where I started. This is my home. This is where I came and walked in as a white belt. You push me into this, I am not walking out. And I spoke to my family. My mom understood because she knows who I am. Some of my friends didn't understand. Like, you could get a black belt. And I was like, no, that's not the point. I want it from him. He gave me all my belts. Like, no, it's not happening. And I was like a robot. I went to work, woke up, went to work, came home, freshened up, went to the dojo and stayed there for 2 hours. You know, I took little naps here on the sofa. But I just.
You're like going out on your shield this week. Every class, pretty much all day long.
Yeah, because I wanted to like.
Plus the Tough Girl Bootcamp and.
I just wanted to
giving homage
soak it all in, you know, because as I mentioned before, I highly doubt I'm gonna find a home like Legacy, you know, where everyone micromanages everything. Everything is red tape, you know. I don't know.
You've grown up, right, too, with all these people.
Exactly.
Over the years.
Exactly. And we always had amazing coaches and professors, you know. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. So that's going to be really emotional for me, you know. But I am going to visit a lot of dojos in Miami, and whatever feels close enough to home, then I'll make a decision, you know?
And keep moving.
And hopefully once we settle in, you know, you could come and do a workshop.
For sure. For sure, I'll be visiting Miami. Edith loves Miami.
For sure. That's definitely our goal.
Bring Serenade to compete out there in Florida. Find a reason, right?
It's like the second Mecca, you know, of jiu-jitsu, you know.
It's funny how things have shifted, right? Like, of course, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil was the Mecca, and then things shifted to SoCal. It still is, right? But because of COVID and all the tournaments and everything else, but still, I think SoCal still is, you know, is up there. But now things like Florida and these other states, even like Texas, right?
Exactly.
Are coming up, and you know, people are, you know.
I am happy about that. That there's a lot of dojos in Miami that we could choose from. You know, I'm really happy about that.
Yeah.
Even in New York, like let's say I was living in New York after Cali, I will definitely would have joined Hensel Gracie's because I felt good in that dojo. They welcomed me. They were super nice.
Did you ever go to the HQ or?
No, just the one in the Bronx.
In Bronx,
because it's closer to my mom's.
Yeah, they're
And they treated me super nice. They welcomed me and they were like chill. Even
there's also was the Upper West Side. Luca Talla, he was the editor of the Gracie magazine for a long time. He runs the gym there, the Hensel Gracie there.
In the city?
In the city, but then also, of course, the main one, right? The HQ. But yeah, you can't go wrong.
That's a discipline.
And we're all like interconnected, right? from all the years. Most of the guys, the head guys, you know, running the Henzos, they're the real, you know, the real people.
That will be it. Let's say I lived in New York, just for those students that travel to go to the dojo in the city, that's a trek. That's a trek for sure. And that's discipline, that's love, you know. If you're traveling an hour just to get, I mean, look at you, taking a little boat to go to
in Rio de Janeiro.
You know?
I have a story when I was going down to Brazil, taking that boat, I took down one of Amal's kayaks. And so my dad lived in New York at the time, right? I went to high school in Staten Island, and so I strapped it he never forgot about that. But I would there was Henzo when he was still with his first partner there. And then there was a guy, even before that, there was a guy named Fabio Clemente. And then he was with the Machados, but then he left because they were, I don't know what happened. Something happened. But I would go and take, you know, I was like all in when I was, I don't know how old I was, 8, whatever it was, but I would take to go train with them because there was only a few classes. There was only a few people around the country, right?
Wow.
And when I would visit my dad, I was like hardcore, like, you know, wherever I could get, you know, information from, because it was very hard to learn. Exactly. And it wasn't really till I moved down to Brazil, and there's all these black belts and all this information, right?
Because that was the mecca at that point. And you had VHS to look at old footage.
What's that?
Right? You had the VHS instead of YouTube. We had like the videotape.
The VHS tapes, yeah, VHS tapes, exactly. Yeah, you play the thing over and over till the thing would, like, you know. Exactly. Yeah, I would record from a TV channel, Sport TV. It was kind of like the ESPN in Brazil. And so I would record all the matches and stuff, you know.
That was exciting for you too, because you was passionate enough to move to Brazil and stay there and live and learn. Yeah. You know, you came out richer.
Right, for sure. Man, I was just thinking about the Hector Camacho. He was from the Bronx as well, right?
Harlem.
Okay.
He's Puerto Rican. He had a lot of heart. I love his fighting spirit. That's
I wanted to hear like what really resonated with you from that movie, because I watched it like probably the week after you told me to.
I always love Rocky, and I love his first story because I believe he wrote Sylvester Stallone wrote that story.
Right,
you know,
correct.
Rags to riches, you know, and the heart to become the greatest fighter, you know, and that was similar to Hector Camacho. You know, he grew up poor. He loved his mom. His father wasn't there. And everything that he did it for his mom, you know, for his family, you know. Growing up, especially in Harlem back in the day, was not, it was
easy.
Just as bad. You know, just like the Bronx has a stigma, Harlem had the stigma too, especially in the late 70s, 80s. It was just really bad. Unemployment, homeless, drugs, you know. And see the fighter in him. He was a kid winning little boxing championships. And his drive to be the best, macho time, you know.
Macho time.
His
the mental talk.
Yes. And I was always fascinated, especially growing up. I love watching him fight, you know.
To make it out of his surroundings,
hood.
Right? Make it out of the hood. To make it.
Yeah.
To the highest level.
And just the close relationship he has with, it reminded me of me and my mom, you know. But, you know, unfortunately, drugs took over, you know. But he was a really, really amazing at fighting. And you take that away from him, and he lost everything, you know. Unfortunately, but I think that's a great, inspiring story for any young kid coming up the ranks in boxing. Yeah,
the fight game is brutal, you know, too. As far as just the hype and what it does, like all that stuff does to you. That's what I love about. Well, if you think about MMA and UFC and those kinds of things, I find very similar, right? You know, professional, fighting, and then amateur, right? Like jiu-jitsu, for example. What I love about jiu-jitsu is it just really grounds you.
Exactly.
It grounds you, makes you a better person. And so even if you or say you want to go follow that path, right? No matter what happens, you always have jiu-jitsu to fall back on, as far as like keeping you grounded and stuff.
Exactly.
And it's also the community, right? You're like interconnected with everybody that you came up with, and you know that you're still connected to, right? Even though you're fighting professionally now.
Exactly.
So you never go away too much, you know, from that.
Exactly. Just Mike Tyson himself, like, you know, watching him fight. I mean, come on.
Yeah, that was my first fight I saw when I was a kid.
Really?
Yeah. It was at the Spinks, you know, when he fought Spinks.
Okay.
It was like,
really?
I don't know, a few seconds, you know. They was all excited, and it was at my uncle's house, and I was like, what? Like, this is fighting stuff.
Oh, so you never really watched Muhammad Ali back in the day?
I was too young.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That was my first fight, Muhammad Ali and Sugar Ray. Those were the two. Every time they were fighting, I was like, yes.
Yeah.
And again, it's because of the regimen getting there. I was attracted to that.
Yeah. Just the fight, the fight game, right? It's like you kind of like say like a prostitute, but kind of, you know, to like the fight promoters. I hate to say it like that, right? But kind of it's true.
It's true.
Like you're just like, you know, most of the time, right?
Exactly.
And so I love amateur jiu-jitsu, you know, like it's real. Exactly. You know, it's real.
Doesn't get any more real than that.
Yeah. What's your lowest point? What's one of your lowest points in your jiu-jitsu journey?
Getting injured, definitely. My knee was really bad. I wasn't able to extend it at all. I was walking in a crutch, and I thought I wasn't gonna do jiu-jitsu anymore. You know, I think Lissettte was like, "Well, I injured my back. Don't think like that. You'll get into it again. Don't worry." But I have to be grateful to you because you actually pushed me. You know, I'm not a competitor, but I guess you saw something in me. You know. And you reached out to me to continue training, even with one leg and my crutches. So, but definitely when I injured my knee, I was like, oh man, like.
Are you proud of that? That you trained like one-legged and you evolved your game?
Absolutely, I started learning.
Is that like something like, I don't know if I can, like, you could have stopped, but instead you evolved your game and got better because you used that as a blessing in disguise, right?
It is. You introduced me to the deep half, and then I met Gordo and his story. I was like, oh, okay, I could do this. I did not want to have surgery. So I just rehab my knee on my own. You know, I mean, sometimes it gives me a little trouble, but I'm good. I'm good. I could leg press 230 pounds. I'm good. And Joey with the flexibility, because I was tight. I was super tight. And he helped me a lot. And he showed me different variations, too, from the bottom game, you know? So.
Let's give, Professor Joe, let's give Kettle Jiu-Jitsu a shout out, because you're one of the diehards. You know, you've gotten certified and, you know,
love you, Professor Joey. Can I give a shout out to my mom? Mom,
of course.
I love you.
Let's talk about Kettle Jiu-Jitsu, you know, like what it's done for you. And, you know, like you've been one of the, 5:30 in the morning. I mean, you're always there. See the bun in the morning and, you know, it's like, okay, cool.
The allure of it. I never thought of kettlebell as a workout. You know, I was always very old-fashioned with weight training. But Professor Joey just made it fun. You know, he made it attractive. You know, he starts you off with the body flow just to warm up. And I feel that a lot of people that do take his class, like new students, they think because they're stronger, they should start right away with heavy kettlebells, and it doesn't work that way because that's how you're gonna get injured. You know, you have to work. It's a progression. You know, and I love the different workout flows, circuits with the kettlebell, which I did not know. You know, and he introduced me to that. I just fell in love with it. I love anything that has to do with the kettlebell. So when I'm away on vacation and I see a kettlebell, I already know what to do. You know, it's a huge gift. Meeting Professor Joey here and taking his Kettle Jitsu class For sure. It's a blessing. And I also want to bring him, once I'm settled in, and I told us that I want to bring Professor Joy so he could give a workshop in kettlebell. And he said he'll do it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. What are you most grateful for in your journey, your jiu-jitsu journey?
My health, always. Jiu-jitsu could take a toll on your body, but it also helps you, with losing weight, being more active, and doing other stuff exercise-wise, whether it's kettle, whether it's tag fit, whether it's Tough Girl Bootcamp, whether it's Muay Thai. You all, not only jiu-jitsu, but you also have to do something else, to supplement your workout. And jiu-jitsu has given me that,
Thank you, Felina. Thank you
for having me.
Thank you for our friendship. Thank you for your example. Thank you for being who you are,
Hurricane Felina.
Just Hurricane Felina. Your loyalty, like for me, a big thing is loyalty, and you're ride or die, and I really respect that. I really love you. I'm really going to miss you, seeing you day in and day out, week in, week out, and I appreciate you.
Likewise, Professor. Thank you for everything. And it's not goodbye, CJ.
Right. We'll see each other soon, and we'll stay connected.
Absolutely.
One good thing with social media is we stay connected with updates and things like that.
Absolutely.
And we'll stay connected and look forward to tomorrow and yeah.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.